It's 2025. There is a plethora of information online about fitness, losing fat, building muscle, nutrition, supplements. Because of that, we have more confusion than ever. And in this video, I'm going to reveal to you 7 myths that you're probably still believing that are holding you back from achieving your dream physique. And I know this to be the case because we've worked with hundreds of guys who believe these myths, it rules their life, and it holds them back. They waste years. And number 1 is your metabolism slows down as you age. How many times have you heard someone say, oh, it's harder now that my metabolism is slower. When I was younger, I used to eat whatever I liked and I could burn it off. That's not true. Your metabolism, your basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories required just to keep the lights on, is largely unchanged. What actually changes is, well, it's your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and also your physical exercise. We just tend to move less as we get older, right? We start jobs behind a desk, we get a car, we have kids, and we just start to get lazy. That's the reality of things. And it's actually a good thing because it means that you can take back control. I mean, I'm nearly 31 and I still make a conscious effort to move. But even when I was younger, I was getting away on like 3,500 calories. Okay, I was growing when I was a teenager, but even in my 20s, I was doing 15, 18K steps a day when I was working a job in London. I would walk back and forth to the gym because I didn't have a car. And now I do find it a bit more difficult. I have to be a bit more conscious with my food because I know, hey, I only get like 8 to 10K steps now. And that even of itself takes quite a lot of effort. And I know that when I'm 40 or 50, it's just going to require a bit of a different approach, a bit more of a conscious effort or some clever systems to make it easier to move throughout the day. And it's the same for you. So your metabolism doesn't age. It's largely fine up until about the age of 60, 65. Stop with that excuse. And that leads us on to number 2, which is starvation mode. If this was the case, we wouldn't have worldwide starvation. We need to look at these people who are genuinely starving. These people, they have no body fat on them. They are malnourished. They're dying. You are not a special snowflake. Your metabolism does not go into starvation mode. What does actually happen, which is very real in the literature, metabolic adaptation. And that's not the same as starvation mode where your body just shuts down. It's very normal. Your body adapts to the amount of energy you put into it. Meaning, if you consistently eat more calories than you consume, you will gain body fat, and hopefully some muscle, but you will also increase your metabolism. And conversely, if you calorie restrict, you will lose body fat because your body has to take energy from somewhere. And then your body will adapt its metabolism. Remember what we mentioned before about the NEAT? It's not so much a basal metabolic rate, although that can have an effect. It's more so you start to move less, okay? You start to find it a bit more effort to do physical exercise. You put a bit less effort in, so you burn a little bit less calories over weeks and months. That is not starvation mode. Your metabolism is simply adapting, okay? It can slow down. It's not permanent. We can adapt both ways. But stop saying to yourself, oh, I've entered starvation mode. That's why I can't lose the weight. It was never starvation mode. It was more than likely just your lack of awareness of the amount of calories coming in and the amount of calories you're expending on a daily to weekly basis. Myth number 3, you need to do cardio to burn body fat. I see it all the time. What's the best kind of cardio to burn body fat? You want to remain in that heart rate of 150, 160 BPM in order to get in the fat burning zone. Sure, you'll start using fat as a fuel source. But what people fail to mention or even realize is that fundamentally it doesn't matter whether you do HIIT or zone 2 kind of cardio. What matters is if you can sustain that, because ultimately, whether you're burning fat for fuel or carbs, your body still has to find those calories later in the day throughout the week, hopefully in the form of your body fat if the goal is fat loss. And so it really doesn't matter what fuel source you want to use from a body composition standpoint if the goal is fat loss. What really matters from that standpoint, which is what you should all be caring about, is can I sustain that? Do I actually enjoy being on that treadmill, on the bike for 20 minutes a day? Or would I rather just try and get 8 to 10K, maybe sometimes 12K steps on the weekend? What is more sustainable and practical for your life? Because if you're trying to look for the best cardio because you don't have the time to get your steps in, or you're trying to do hill sprints or whatever it is, or HIIT training, that's fine, but you need to be conscious of how sustainable is that for me? Can I get my nervous system jacked up every time after a long stressful day to go and do 5 rounds of interval sprints? For most people, no. There is no best type of cardio for fat loss. There is just the best type of cardio for you that is sustainable. That's how you should look at it. And myth number 4, the more you put in, the more you get out. In some cases in life, that is true. But with fitness, the law of diminishing returns definitely takes place. And actually, a lot of the times, often the more you put in, the less you get out. Meaning, if we keep pushing and pushing and restricting our calories if fat loss is the goal, or trying to train 5-6 days a week and have no sugar, you're not going to get more of a result. What will happen is you'll crash, you'll burn out, you'll rebound, you will maybe binge eat, right? We don't want to just push, push, and push. I always say with our clients, we want to fuel our fat loss. We want to guide our body to that result. We don't want to force it. Training should be a celebration of movement. You should not be dreading that because you're doing intense, super intense, long 4 to 5 sessions a week. It should be sessions that you enjoy, that you can sustain. There's that keyword again. Same with your diet. You don't need to be aggressive. In fact, being aggressive, if you watched our last video, actually bites you in your ass. What you need to do is to be moderate. And I know that's not sexy because people just want Ozempic. They want instant results. But that is not what's going to give you the result long term. And I'm assuming that's what you want. Number 5, fasted cardio burns more body fat. Fasted cardio versus fed state cardio, there is little to no difference. And in fact, in some of the results, what we're finding, or what they found, is that when you're in a fed state, you have more energy to exert more effort, meaning you actually burn more calories. And what ultimately matters is at the end of the day, what calories you are consuming. There's no point doing fasted cardio if, again, you can't sustain it, because frankly, for a lot of people, it's quite stressful on the body to then go and do 3 times a week cardio without any breakfast. And if you're not hungry in the morning, you should be fueling your body. You need to think like an athlete. We need carbohydrates from that standpoint. It's rocket fuel. It's going to give you more energy to push, which will then offset the calories consumed. So we need to look at it from a performance standpoint. How can I fuel this session and not, oh, I'm just going to completely restrict, even though I feel clear and laser focused in the morning? That shouldn't be the reason you do it. We want to be fueling those cardio sessions so that we can get the most out of them and sustain them. So look, if you want to do fasted cardio, go ahead, be my guest. If you can sustain it, fine. But don't think that you're getting advantage over the guy who fuels his sessions. In fact, you may be getting a disadvantage because of that reduced energy output. 6, low carb is better for fat loss. Now look, you will lose more weight on low carb, but it's not the kind of weight that you want. It's just water. For every 1 gram of carbohydrate, you store 3 grams of water. Now, if you want to lose some quick amount of weight, which fighters do all the time, for example, when they're trying to cut weight, yes, maybe going low carb could be advantageous there. But if you're trying to lose body fat and look good with your shirt off, carbohydrates are your best friend. And of course, carbohydrates taste great, right? They taste great. So from a practicality standpoint, you're a lot more flexible with what you can get away with on your diet. You're not as neurotic around your food. And of course, you have more energy. Like if you're using these carbohydrates for fuel, you'll be fine. And the reason why carbs get a bad rep is because people have the wrong kind of carbs in the wrong context. They will have a huge giant pizza and then sit on their ass and watch TV and then say, yeah, that really knocked me out, those carbs. I got a blood sugar crash. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, because you had a huge amount of influx of calories plus carbohydrates and protein and whatever, which also, by the way, protein is insulinogenic, will spike your insulin. Of course, you felt like crap. But if you were to have that same pizza and then go for a nice hike for 2 hours, you'd feel great. You'd be energetic on that hike. So the context matters here. And what I'm saying is you don't need to be going low carb. It is not better for fat loss. And in often case, when it comes to the practical outcomes, it's worse. Number 7, supplements will fix you. Now look, supplements do have their place, but I've never heard of anybody coming back and saying, you know what, I just took this one supplement and my testosterone was fixed. Or I just took this one supplement and my strength doubled. Or I was able to bust through this fat loss plateau. Supplements will help on top of the basics. There's no point trying to take boron or magnesium for your testosterone if you are not sleeping well. You may see some improvement for sure, but you still need to be doing the lifestyle, guys. You still need to be doing the basics. If you're not getting deep quality restorative sleep consistently and you have good sleep hygiene, it's like putting a band-aid over a wound. Like, yes, you'll get some result, but it's not going to fix the root cause. And so what we need to be looking at is, let's get the basics in first, then we can consider those marginal gains. Then we could maybe consider getting a blood test and looking at our biomarkers and thinking, because we're quite a stressed individual, there's a higher demand for magnesium. So more magnesium-rich foods, great. Then consider supplementing. But just jump into the supplements because it's an easy, quick, apparent fix. You're not solving the root cause. You're not going to get that result that you want. and then you're just going to have a cupboard full of supplements that you have to take every day. I mean, that's not performance. That's just fragile that you have to take these every day. So not hating on supplements at all, but far too many people jump to that before looking at the boring basic work, which they know they should be doing, but they'd rather take this pill because it's easier. But that's not what's going to help you. Now look, it's not your fault that you've believed these myths. There's a lot of confusion and BS online, frankly. Now, I mentioned about your metabolism not slowing down whilst you age, and you can actually increase your metabolism, giving you an easy time of losing fat with more energy and sustainability. And you can learn how to do that in this video.